Greetings, beloved of God. You may not recognize me because of this, but thankfully, hair salons and barbershops opened up this week in Orange County. I was able to do something about that fluffy mess of hair that I had. So, anyways, welcome to today's devotion. It is Psalm 128. Happy is everyone who fears the Lord, who walks in his ways. You shall eat the fruit of the labor of your hands. You shall be happy, and it shall go well with you. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine within your house. Your children will be like olive shoots around your table. Thus shall the man be blessed who fears the Lord. The Lord bless you from Zion. May you see the prosperity of Jerusalem all the days of your life. May you see your children's children. Peace be upon Israel. So this one is quite similar to yesterday's devotion, Psalm 127, the blessings of a home. This one again speaks of family relationships and having lots of children, and but added to that are prosperity in agriculture and the fruit of your labor. Not necessarily just agriculture, but whatever labor, whatever trade a person would have, or in this case, a man, because clearly this was geared towards men, one of the features of an ancient writing, but also this would be a blessing for a long life as well. So the people of Israel thought that obedience to God and obedience to the commandments and to the law would ensure, or at least give you a better opportunity and chance to be prospered in all that you did, and prospered in the terms of family life, and prospered also in terms of long life. Now, that wasn't going to always be the case, and I would imagine that at times when Israelites were not living long lives or things weren't going well in their life, that the suspicion was that they were sinning in some ways. Just read the book of Job and get 20-some chapters of an argument about when life is dealing you a bad hand, that you must have done something wrong. That wasn't the case then, and it wasn't the case now. It's just a byproduct of life in general for us, that sometimes bad things happen to good people, and sometimes good things happen to bad people. Sometimes bad people live long lives, and sometimes good people don't live long lives. But in a similarly practical sense, obedience to God in the Old Testament ways, all of those many commandments, and in addition to that, the 10 Commandments, the many laws that were given by God to Moses, to the people, and the ones that were developed over the course of time, more than 600 of them. Many of them are thought to have been just good advice for how to live a happy life, a life that was limiting conflict and limiting danger and threats from other people, and creating enemies and being on the wrong end of hostility and things like that. Just living a good, peaceful life that would generally make a person happy. So that was, that the law was given for that reason. It's not just something to be obeyed to please God, but God gave those laws, I think, as I've said before many Psalms ago, that they were really in many ways given to help the people live a good life. It's even thought that some of the food purity laws and not eating unclean animals could have saved the people of Israel from food poisoning, from getting bacteria that they didn't know existed that we do now, things like salmonella and ptomaine and things like that, that when you don't have refrigeration and ways to preserve meat, that you could get food poisoning, get sick, and possibly even die from it. So those things were meant to be helpful for the people of Israel as well, not just rules and laws to be followed. Well, the Old Testament's not, and the laws are not abolished. And Jesus said he came to fulfill them, not to abolish them. But they can be summed up, as Jesus said, in the law of love, that to love God, love your neighbors. And living that kind of life also, I believe, for us today, is living a life of love and not hatred and not divisiveness, living a life of compassion and empathy will, I believe, lead to a happier life for us. Just think about times in your life where you've done nice things for people. people that you care about, and sometimes even people who are strangers or acquaintances. And the satisfaction that you get, that sense of happiness that you get from being someone who helps another person, from living a life that is more sacrificial and less selfish, because we tend to want to be selfish. And I think the more we feed our selfish desires, our fleshly desires, as Paul would say, the stronger the appetite grows of the flesh, and the more it demands of us, and it can never be satisfied. So, living in opposition to that, not in denial of the flesh, but not giving into those urges, and living a life that was exemplified by Jesus as one of sacrifice and compassion and empathy and love for God and love for others, will lead to a happier life, I believe. It's not going to lead to a perfect life, because there's no such thing in our world, but it leads to a more positive attitude, I think, a more positive outlook, a more positive perspective on the world, and less strife, and less, again, conflict and divisiveness and angst and stress and anxiety. There's no guarantee of that, but certainly I think it's good advice for us, especially now, in a world that is ever more divisive and ever more filled with conflict and just the challenges that we face in this life. And so it's hard to resist those things, but God gives us a plan. God gives us a blueprint for how we could possibly live a happier life, not the perfectly happy life, but a happier life as opposed to the way that the world encourages us to live. That's our devotion for today. Until tomorrow, in Psalm 129, blessings to you all.